My name is Josh Perry, and I'm currently here at Vanderbilt University, where I'm on faculty in the medical school at the Center for Biomedical Ethics and Society, and also teach as an adjunct in the law school. I think even as a student, I realized that something happens. I think something happens as an undergraduate. I mean, you show up as between 17 and 19, and you enter into this this journey of exploration and development, personal development, and intellectual exploration and personal exploration. And I think it certainly happens as an undergraduate. I think as a professional student, and I've seen this now with law students and with medical students, as myself as a divinity school student and as a law school student, that there is this really radical transformation that happens with many students. And I think some level of change and transformation happens with all students. I think with some it's more profound than with others, but nonetheless, something is happening during this time of becoming a lawyer, or becoming a physician, or becoming a clergy person. And so I have been increasingly interested in, well, what is happening? And in particular, what happens to the person as the person becomes a professional. And so in some of my writing and certainly in the classroom, I really spend a lot of time asking the question, well, what about this person and this professional? Ought they be integrated at some level? Can they be integrated? Should one make decisions in one's professional life that are consistent with professional norms? What happens when those professional norms or expectations are in tension with their own personal commitments, and whether that be personal values or some sort of personal spiritual or religious commitment or conviction. So those sorts of issues have really been areas of interest in the last couple of years. I guess what I found frustrating about my law school experience is that this integration question that I'm raising, that I raise with my students, I've raised it with some writing, I don't think it gets systematically raised. I don't think in law school, most law schools, and I'm not even sure about most medical school programs, or it seems, I'll speak to law schools because that's what I'm most familiar with, both as a student and what I've observed and speaking with colleagues. There's not space carved out for contemplation of this question. And so students are sort of left on their own to sort it out or to not sort it out. And I think it's a particular concern in the law school world because so many students find themselves in law school without any concrete direction or purpose. So you have a lot of students who wind up in law school who are English majors or philosophy majors or poli-sci majors, something in the humanities that really turned them on as an undergrad and that they found interesting, but that presents a fairly significant challenge post-graduation with regards to employment. And so a lot of very smart folks who did great in undergrad wind up in law school for a whole host of reasons. And so there they are in law school without many of them without a clear sense of, why am I in law school? What kind of lawyer do I want to be? What kind of law do I want to practice? And so once you're in law school, there are a whole host of pressures. Most students take on an enormous amount of law school loans and debt. So there's financial pressures, there are financial incentives with the exorbitant salaries that are out there and for big firms in big cities. And so there are a number of factors that are then pressing in on students. And so I have found that in my PR class, if I do an adequate job of sort of covering the rules and talking about the classic legal ethic dilemmas, legal ethical issues that confront lawyers. In addition to that, if I can create some space throughout the semester for students to have some structured time to really ask themselves, well, how is law school changing me? In fact, what kind of lawyer do I want to be? Not just do I want to be a transactional lawyer or a prosecutor or defense attorney or a deal maker or a family lawyer. Not just area, but what kind of, how do I want people to know me as a lawyer in my community or in my bar? And so I think sometimes those questions get dealt with in clinics, maybe sometime in upper level seminars. But it strikes me as an enormously important question for students to be asking themselves. And I think some of the research that's out there, some of the sobering statistics about substance abuse and mental health issues, that information that's in the literature, my sense is that some of that is a result of individuals who never had the opportunity or never took the opportunity to really reflect on who do I want to be and where do I want to be and what do I want my career to look like. So my sense is that we can do a better job of preparing future professionals if we create space during this formative period, during the educational period, to give students a space to explore some of those questions, particularly the question of, it's the age-old question of, can I be a good person and a good lawyer? Can I be a fulfilled person? Can I live a meaningful life as a lawyer? I mean, those sort of baseline questions that I think need to be asked. There's a bit of resistance with some students initially, but I have found that, in fact, after you sort of get beyond a little bit of the initial resistance, students are remarkably open and curious, and they recognize that, in fact, yes, who they were on day one of law school is not who they are now as either a 2L or a 3L sitting in my class. And that particularly for the 3Ls, and particularly for the 3Ls who are in their last semester, they can sort of see the horizon. And for many of them, they recognize, yeah, I need this. I don't have to make a very strong case for personal awareness, for introspection. They get it, that in fact law school has changed them in ways that they're not entirely comfortable with, and personally changed them in ways, not just professionally prepared them. Professionally, they are comfortable with preparation. They feel like they can spot arguments and make arguments, but personally it manifests as a cynicism or as a pessimism. And so there have been changes that manifest in a personal way that they aren't as enthusiastic about and they're concerned about. And so the notion of sort of having a chance to reclaim or reacquaint themselves, reorient themselves with who they were before they got there, strikes the majority of my students as a worthwhile endeavor. And that's how I frame it to them. I mean, I'm very clear that I don't have answers for all the moral dilemmas that we encounter during the semester or for what they're going to encounter in their practice. That my job is not to provide that sort of instruction. That rather, I view my chief job in that setting to reorient them, reacquaint them with who they fundamentally know themselves to be. Because my hypothesis is that in some way law school has blinded them or disoriented them in some ways that in some instances are alarming, and sometimes in the long term, if not addressed, can be, well, at the least can be not healthy.